But earlier compiled that report with my colleagues Phimani Baloyi as well as Bulelani Philip. Let's get the latest now on that repatriation process, how far it is. We're joined by SABC News international reporter Khayelihle Khumalo, who joins us now live in studio. Khayelihle, good morning to you. What's the latest on the repatriation of the fallen South African soldiers?
Well, that's right, Crisetta. It's a very delicate process. As you know, it's all started in Goma and then Sake and all the way to Rwanda. As you know, this is a very restive part of the DRC where the skirmishes are very sporadic. So it's a very tough terrain for the authorities. South Africans, of course, working with the United Nations. As you know, that these are peacekeepers. Two of them, they were part of the UN mission, but also the rest parts of the SADC mission in the DRC. So far, what you do understand is that they're heading to Entebbe. So Entebbe is right in Uganda, a very important area. It serves as a UN logistics hub in terms of the facilities, in terms of many other processes. So we do understand once they reach Entebbe, that's where the transportation process will just get underway. So we do understand it's South Africans, and then you have the Tanzanians as well as the Malawans in this regard. But also, we do understand you have about 7 medical personnel who survived, but obviously due to the injuries that they sustained, they will have an opportunity as well to really just get some. So we do understand, by all means, in terms of the estimated time of arrival here in South Africa, we're looking at a very late period because, Criselda, I mean, when it comes to repatriation, these processes are very rigorous. That they demand so many paperwork and the documentation that is required is quite enormous, and it's really taxing for the authorities.
Well, Kaya, just before we get to our next question around what President Cyril Ramaphosa is attending, that joint summit of the SADC and East African community in Dar es Salaam to address the crisis in the DRC. In fact, let me go there. How important is this meeting in light of the hostilities that we've seen in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in the east of that country? This is not new. What is this meeting set to achieve?
Well, by all means, Criselda, a very long-standing issue. I mean, you go back to so many SADC summits. The issue of the DRC, the eastern part of that country, has always been really on top of the agenda. So this is a result of successive meetings from the two blocs, from the leaders in Southern Africa. You saw that all-important meeting in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, chaired by Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is currently the chairperson of SADC, really calling for a ceasefire, emphasizing also the issue of the diplomatic solution, but also raising concern that this is a very awful situation where the humanitarian catastrophe is really just unfolding, where the civilians are caught up in this conflict, especially a very strategic point for the DRC. I mean, you have so many minerals that are there, but also what you had from the leaders from the East African community as well, they're also emphasizing a very important issue around the cessation of hostilities once again. So from these two blocks, there was a recommendation for the leaders to come together to look at the solution, because I think there's a clear understanding that the military solution is not really a viable option, especially because here you talk about the ethnic tension, you talk about all sorts of things, Criselda.
Do we expect this meeting then to yield any tangible results, Khayelihle?
Well, Criselda, it's going to be really interesting because when you look at the two key processes, for example, the Luanda process that's led by the Angolan president, João Lourenço, that was supposed to diffuse the tensions between DRC and Rwanda, so to bring together President Tshisekedi of Congo and, of course, his counterparts from Rwanda, Paul Kagame, under one roof. So far we do understand that President Tshisekedi won't be coming. Instead, he has decided to send his prime minister. So a very concerning situation here, because these two heads of states, I mean, really, they were supposed to meet so that they really try and reach some understanding of some sorts. But Criselda, what's also going to be really interesting is to see President Ramaphosa alongside Rwandan President Kagame under one roof, especially after a very heated exchange between Kigali and Pretoria, where we really saw a very strongly worded statement coming from President Kagame, using words like distortion, falsehood, but also the whole issue around the militia, and of course from the South African authorities admitting that there was an error. So it's going to be a very interesting meeting, Griselda. But for the Congolese, I suppose the big issue is about long-lasting peace, so that they can really just enjoy, just their country, silence those guns, because this has been a very long-standing problem.
Khayelihle, thank you very much indeed. SABC News international reporter Khayelihle Khumalo with the latest there, of course, on the repatriation of the bodies of those 14 South African soldiers. And of course, that all-important meeting, the joint summit of SADC and East African Community taking place in Dar es Salaam. President Cyril Ramaphosa will be in attendance there. And as Khayelihle indicated, very interesting to see, I guess, what it will be like in that room, especially in light of some of the tensions, of course, relating to words by the Rwandan President Paul Kagame.